session for Splunk AppDynamics integrations. Thank you for everyone who was able to join. I'm so sorry that the link got messed up. For whatever reason, our streaming application was messing up. I'm Christopher Bonanno, your host today, and also presenter. And I have some presenters here to help us out. If we have any questions, feel free to put them into the YouTube chat as well. We'll try to respond to them there, or we're also going to have a Q&A towards the end where we can quickly get into answering your guys' questions if you have any further beyond what you have along the way. So let's go ahead and start out. You guys waited long enough. So the agenda for today is going to be a ThousandEyes overview, and then we're going to jump into we're going to go from a ThousandEyes overview over to a monitoring integration with Splunk AppDynamics and ThousandEyes, and then we're going to do a demonstration of how they work together and what you can do with it, as well. Go into a Q&A, and at the end we have some closing thoughts before I let you go. So first of all, we're going to start off with ThousandEyes. Now, ThousandEyes is a extremely powerful tool in a world where your applications are running in SaaS, so SaaS is your application, your infrastructure is the World Wide Web, and you have people trying to work within there. So if you're a corporation and you have people distributed all across the world working for you, you have applications distributed across the cloud all over the world, and you're using the World Wide Web for all of that to happen, it becomes very difficult to isolate what kind of issues are going on around you. You have a lot of blind spots that come out where, normally you used to just worry about everything in-house. Your networking your networking complexity has gotten astronomically bigger. So now, you're going to need to start paying attention to those other layers like DNS and cloud and edge, and what is the user environment looking like, or what are the various SaaS options that we have, or on the various cloud options that we're using. And if you're running kind of like a hybrid cloud, you still have things in your internal. How do you manage all of the networking and connectivity of all of that? So, like I said, there's unavoidable scale and complexity when it comes to the new way things are set up, especially, with applications being more in SaaS, networking, it's no longer your internal network. You have full control over everything. It's now also across the World Wide Web. You have your users all out there. With ThousandEyes, it empowers the enterprise to see and understand what's going on with the digital experience, whether it be for customers or internal users. And it allows you to visualize any network as if it were your own. So as if it's across 3 different cloud platforms, it's very difficult to navigate all of that, trying to be successful with it, or to successfully monitor it. You have to kind of look at even the ISPs and the various providers that are involved. You kind of have to see that holistically as your own network, or as a part of your own network, because it takes a toll or influences how well things are working or not working. And then it allows you to collaborate and solve those problems with your partners, within your networking or the app stack, etc. And that is part of the solution. Not AppDynamics. Cisco ThousandEyes is an extremely powerful networking tool that allows you to see, tests, whether it's, in to out, out to in, or, just looking at the endpoint. And we'll go over more of this in depth, but some of the things that it provides are your network insights, your application experience, what kind of availability you have, if there's any packet loss, latency, jitter, all of those key KPIs that you guys are always looking for as network engineers, and then more and more application engineers and DevOps, and all these other ops teams are starting to have to pay attention to it too. Is there, has there been too many hops put in place between, one point to another? Getting to see that topology and, where things are stopping, where things are going. And then also getting to a point where, you're able to see, is it available? Is it reachable? Are did the paths change? If you notice here, maybe this one changed, so now it's going its own independent ways. There's a bunch of different visualizations in here that's really cool with the Cisco ThousandEyes, and it's even better if you know how it works. So I was mentioning inside out, outside in, and then just user computer. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. So with the enterprise agent, it's a lightweight agent that can be deployed in your data center, even on a switch. Of course, the Cisco Catalyst switches or anything like that, a lot of them are strong enough that you can run this lightweight agent on there. If you're using something that is less recommended, just be careful with that, or maybe have it on a separate VM or something on the same network or in the same subnet, so that it can get out to network resources within the enterprise. Next, you have the outside in agent. So something that's up in the cloud, hosted by ThousandEyes, going out to maybe your website, maybe an API that your application is needing. And then you can pick and choose, where is this located? Where is it going to come from? Is it going to be from across the world, or is it going to be in the same state as the data center where it's hitting? Whatever the case may be, or the need for synthetic testing, you can set that up with the cloud agent. And then there's endpoint agents. Endpoint agents is just like, you would think when you're dealing with security software. It's endpoint protection. It's going to be on this is not an endpoint protection, but similarly, it's on the endpoints. It's on people's computers. So if you have a bunch of employees across the world, most likely they're on a bunch of laptops. It's going to be on those laptops, and you're going to be understanding the connectivity challenges or the routing of the traffic, so that you can keep yourself secure in your enterprise, and make sure that the company is not at risk for having work at home employees. And at the same time, the employees want to do right. They don't necessarily, after COVID, they might be just as productive at home, and you want to let them do that. And, they've done nothing but good. So this allows you to kind of have that assurance as a company, but at the same time allows them to it allows them to still be able to work from home, but with your peace of mind, obviously. So now let's move on so that's all how ThousandEyes collects the data. It's using those agents. And then now beyond that, what does it provide? If we start thinking about the visibility and also the workflows, you want things that are triggerable, that are actionable. You want information, insights that are going to be useful to you, not something that, oh, hey, it's vaguely going down around here. Something, on the network side, that's more what you would see on like an APM tool, or, something more like AppDynamics, because it's not specialized in networking. But when you're talking about ThousandEyes, it's just like the name sounds. It's like you have 1,000 eyes across the network. There's a lot of connectivity happening with an application, and it's going through, especially if it's going through multiple cities, multiple states, multiple countries. There's a whole bunch of ISPs there and their infrastructure that you have to see. So you not only need to see your regular domains and the regular things that you care about, but you also need to understand, where it is going, that is outside of your control, so that you can, either help, mitigate the concern inside of, hey, this ISP is having an issue, and maybe you guys can route your traffic differently. If you have the visibility and you're able to represent that in the UI, and you're able to do some digging and come up on real actionable effects or impacts, then it's going to improve your guys' workflows because you're able to see, exactly what it is, even if it's outside of your normal enterprise context. So even if it's not in your own data center, you're able to have actionable items, actionable callouts put forth to you in the ThousandEyes so that you can, start working with the networking team or whatever team would be required to maybe improve things. And then you can start digging down in there. And they do give you some, quality experience, correlation to let you know, depending on that region, if it's good or bad or slow or, basically, if it's slow, the customers are probably not going to be very happy, right? So especially if you're familiar with AppDynamics, you understand that whole concept. Now, going on or beyond that point, now how does this work? So we have thousands of global vantage points. The cloud agents are all over the place, and they're connected to tier 2 and tier 3 networks, as well in public clouds. And then you also have endpoint agents letting you know where your users all are, within your enterprise. And if there's any, throttling, or if there's any points of concern there. And then, those enterprise agents are going to be more the ones sitting inside of your data center, usually installed on some sort of network appliance or a virtual machine that has access to things where it could be running tests, across your internal network. And bringing all of that together will give you a collective insight to be able to move forward and, improve processes, improve KPIs of what's important to who, just, overall visibility. So awesome, right? ThousandEyes is incredible. You can see a lot of really good network insight information in there. But now, how could it be even better? And let's start talking about our monitoring integration. So now you have tools like Splunk AppDynamics, you have tools like ThousandEyes, and that becomes really important and really powerful for those individual teams using them. But those silos become the next problem that we have to solve. Now, like I said, you might have an IT ops, you might have a DevOps, you might have a net ops, you might have a cloud infra, all of these little silos, the different people, different tools. And, individually, the insights that they get are awesome and it's great for their one role. But trying to see things holistically as a a greater whole of the enterprise and its successful traffic, you need to start looking at things a little wider or start integrating them. So imagine, the IT or the net ops is able to connect with the DevOps, and they're able to, start working together more along with cloud ops. Imagine having all this visibility put together. That's exactly what we've done here at Cisco. We've combined products. Not only are we combining more and more with Splunk and AppDynamics, and now AppDynamics being a part of the greater suite of tools from Splunk, to show, not only just the monolithic applications, database monitoring, end user monitoring. It has its own version of synthetics that goes hand in hand with the EUM. I can list on and on, but that's not why you're here. You want to see the integration between the internet and cloud intelligence connecting to the application performance monitoring that you guys have known. And now, bringing this, collection of tools together from Cisco, you're just going to get more and more insights. So now, if we look at this flow, you're going from the user, the internet, and then, all the network information that you would need to know. And then on the application side, there's APIs, there's, the actual code, there's server, like actual infrastructure, if it's whether it's internal or cloud. You're able to monitor all of this in an application sense or infrastructure sense, but it doesn't give you much on the networking side. So for you to get that full end-to-end picture, you need to have the networking in there. And that's exactly what we've done with the integration between Splunk AppDynamics and ThousandEyes. So now imagine holistically visible, imagine getting the holistic visibility um, with your of networking integrated with your observability. So your application observability, rather, or infrastructure visibility, or database visibility, whichever one or all that you're concerned with. Imagine getting to add the insight of networking in there as well. So, and it makes it easy too. So, with the Splunk AppDynamics and ThousandEyes integration, there's an auto discovery where AppDynamics monitor, or I'm sorry, where monitor, I'm sorry, applications monitored in AppDynamics are automatically detected from ThousandEyes. And it actually suggests tests that you can make. So while you're setting things up, it will actually automatically discover those apps. It'll give you recommendations based on templates that it already has, and it'll start really calling out important transactions that it sees in the application. Very cool. So in terms of integrating things, obviously it's much better to have to do less, so you can get the most out of it. As well, you want to have some sort of actionable plan where you can easily jump back and forth between the two. Now, this slide doesn't necessarily show that part, but I'll be able to show that to you soon. That network insight on the EUM screen that allows you to jump back and forth, and then on the obviously on the application side, you can start correlating network issues to the impact or the health of that application. Start bringing those things together. And then from there, you're able to start getting into more visualizations in AppDynamics to pull more things from that side as well. If you're on the ThousandEyes side, you can quickly go back over and start seeing what's going on the application side, and we'll start showing more of that. So now, simplifying your real-time insights on your end-to-end user experience is very important. So that's where we have the bidirectional integration. It's not just going from AppDynamics to the ThousandEyes. It's also going ThousandEyes back to AppDynamics. So then you're able to kind of go back and forth, use both tools, start breaking down things that you wouldn't normally have so much visibility to, or you're also not having to manually correlate all these things together. You're not having to bring up 3 different tools, look up the same application during the same time frame. It's a bunch of manual stuff. So, lowering your MTTR, your mean time to resolution. If you have quick clickable links that you can grab on either one and it brings you over, it's just going to make you faster, more efficient, especially in the rate of these errors, at the rate errors can occur and really be impactful, negative, and have a negative overall happening for your customers or experience. You don't want things to start being hindered where you don't have visibility on one side or the other, application monitoring or on the networking. Now, how does all of this work? There's bidirectional data. There's a bidirectional data exchange, and they require them both to have the OAuth, and when it's going, like I said, back and forth. And this shows you exactly what it is. So there's an API that is going from AppDynamics to ThousandEyes. It's giving the APM and EUM app data. It's also giving the dependent services that are associated with that application or with those applications. And then it also gives the service or the application and service health data. So those are the first 2 APIs involved. And then there's a third API involved, which is going back the other way. So all the test data. And then also, I should add that you could also trigger snapshots from the AppDynamics side automatically through a webhook on the alert and respond model. If you start setting up an action using a webhook, you can do that, and it would use something similar with these APIs. And then you can also make the health alerts from ThousandEyes. You can make those show up in AppDynamics. So those are some things that aren't mentioned on here, and we'll talk more about those in the demo. Okay, and then this is another really good summary page here. So you get a lot of benefit out of it, and let's start looking at kind of some of the metrics that are going back and forth. So AppDynamics 2000Eyes. So like I said before, APM, EUM application information. As well, you get your services and service dependency for each of those applications. You get your service domain lists. You get the request calls for each service, application health, and then health, also the service health. And then from ThousandEyes to AppDynamics, you get the tests regarding the same domain and OTel streams. Also, you can get all of that network insights. You can get the loss, latency, jitter, all showing up under that EUM. As well, you get a lot of really cool widgets that can be represented in both the regular custom dashboards as well Dash Studio. So there's a lot of really good information there. That's going to be, again, a lot easier to go over and cover in the demo. So let's go ahead and keep going. So see, these are some of the technical, frequently asked questions. First of all, what are the system level requirements for test recommendations and app health workflow? Any CSAS AppDynamics instance is supported. Now, it does require that it is at least version 23.10. If you're on SaaS, you probably don't have to worry about it. And then you can only do one test recommendation per ThousandEyes organization. So basically, if you have multiple controllers, the only one controller can be integrated with one ThousandEyes configuration, and that's kind of if you, and that shouldn't be a problem because you are probably going to be setting things up on ThousandEyes for a specific use case to be used with Splunk AppDynamics, and largely, if there's an account over there that's being used, that's going to be the account that you're going to integrate the ThousandEyes with the Splunk AppDynamics. So we haven't really seen that this is a big issue, but I do want to let you know of that limitation. And then, the underlying technology behind ThousandEyes, we get asked this all the time. It is OpenTelemetry. You guys, that's a trigger word, right? We all want to learn more OTel. Well, hey, if you're using ThousandEyes, you have an opportunity to start poking into how those tests are working. It is utilizing OpenTelemetry, which is the latest standard in observability as we know it. And then in the AppDynamics OTel stream, are tags visible in the API? Yes. If you pull a stream or a list, the labels of the list API, you will see them. But there is one per account group. So again, it's kind of associated with the account that you're using for. The main limitation here to note is that you can only have one account set up on the ThousandEyes in your Splunk AppDynamics, and in a little while we'll show you why. There's only room for one key in there, and it's not a big deal if you're using an account that's looking at multiple applications. I don't see why it would be a hurtful or a hindrance. So now these are all the main things that you get out of the integration. So you get your network insights, which again, we're going to show in the demo. Might be a little overkill here showing you the slides. You get widgets in both Dash Studio as well, ones in ThousandEyes. And then you also get more information or more widgets that you can put in on the custom dashboards, which come out as iframes. and they look really good. And I'm really excited to show you those. So let's go ahead and progress further. Now, all of these things is all brought to you because of the bi-directional integration, not a one direction integration where you would just be AppDynamics to ThousandEyes or ThousandEyes to AppDynamics. You actually get to see the both, and this is some of the stuff that you would be able to see. So you'd be able to see these ThousandEyes network insights, and then when you're actually going to create those tests and it's making recommendations to you, this is kind of what that list would look like. And then it'll tell you, which ones, which domains and everything, and lets you pick from them and gives you an update as you're syncing all this stuff together. Very cool, very powerful, and I am I've always been very impressed with this integration because I have a background of observability running as a site reliability engineer, and trying to discern and jump between multiple systems. It just wreaks havoc on your workflow. It takes a lot longer. You're sitting there arguing with people, in different groups. If you don't have that insight, you got to get them on a call. You guys are both sharing screens, showing what you see, and trying to, make sense of what's in between there. It's awful. So to simplify that, having them all together will streamline those workflows, especially dealing with a real reactive situation, where you're trying to solve things and you don't want to be up all night. Is it networking? Is it on the application side? Let's find that out quickly. And then with the test matching, you would be able to, and that network insights, and I'm going to show you this in the actual demo, but this is that network insights little widget that we were looking at on the EUM dashboard on the previous slide. And you'd be able to quickly click on this link and it'll show you which tests are available for that application. You can click on that test, and then it'll bring you automatically over to another window. It doesn't take over the window. I always get annoyed with stuff like that. So it'll open up another window with ThousandEyes with the relevant tests that you are interested in. Like I said, you're not sitting there opening up two different applications, trying to find the correlation yourself, manually splicing them together, looking it up by the same time by the application. It's all tests that was recommended that you selected and had it build, and then you are quickly able to go from the EUM side, jump into the test, start seeing if you see a spike that could correlate back to when you were having issues, and you don't have to do that manual test. Very cool, very powerful, and in my previous role, this type of stuff was critical. Now, we also can start to see if there's any application issues going on, or if there's any applications that are associated with the tests or views that you're in. On the ThousandEyes side, you also can be able to click right there and it'll bring you back the other way. Now, if you're here with marketing going and talking to our Splunk AppDynamics customers, this might not be as important to you, but knowing that you can go back and forth, it's just really nice, and it really improves your workflow. So let's go ahead and start jumping into the demo. We got off to a late start, so I'm trying not to rush too much. I do apologize again for that, and let's go ahead and start jumping into something we can see, something we can mess with. So now this is an example application. It's just a real simple example of a banking application within EU. And as you can see, you can process checks, you can process loans, you can withdraw. Think of a normal banking site, but again, this was extremely simple and not meant to necessarily be it's not meant to compete with those big names out there. It's just a simple showing you some traffic kind of application. And let's go ahead and check it out first in AppDynamics. This is probably what you're most used to, right? So I come over here, I can see the flow. So this is the front end, things coming downstream, depending on what option they're going or which journey they're going in the application. And then this is correlated with the front end, and that's where we're going to focus. Now, this is the front end application. So this is probably, like the React website where your users are actually clicking on it, and then the app stack is handling everything in the background for those requests, for those clicks that initiate other, asynchronous calls and everything else. So, in here, you're probably very aware of it, but you have a lot of utility already just out of the gate. You can go to you can drill down into end user response. If I click here, it is computing a lot of data, so just give it some time, or give it some time to load. Also, my browser is complaining that it's overused, so it's a little bit of my own user error there. So I can start jumping into what my response time is. I can start looking at all of my regular end user monitoring data to understand if my application is going slow or what percentage of calls are going really slow. And if I start noticing that there's a lot of issues, then I can very quickly, let me just go on back. I can very quickly start looking at what's going on in the network. So if I see a bunch of slow response times up here, and I want to start understanding what's going on, and it doesn't necessarily make sense, if I start looking at the JavaScript errors or the Ajax requests, and I don't necessarily see anything going really slow, and if I want to start looking at where in the world it is actually getting slow, etc., I can do that by clicking on this tab. But we're going to stick with the integration. I'm assuming that you guys have gone through the end user monitoring foundations. If you haven't, definitely reach out to your account team. We have a wonderful accelerator built out for you guys and can come and meet with you as well. There's a lot of videos on our YouTube page that you're currently on, outside of the technical issues with the YouTube Live. There's actually a lot of really good content on there. And you can start understanding how you would start using Brum and MRUM, the browser real user monitoring or the mobile real user monitoring, to start dissecting and start solving real world problems that your customers might be having with your digital assets. So now let's go ahead and focus. Let's get back over to the ThousandEyes integration. So now, outside of what you would normally do in your end user monitoring, now you have network insights. So we can do filters that will help aggregate this widget based on what you select. So if you have certain tests going from certain places, or if you start going into the geolocation dashboard and you start seeing that there's certain places that are having more issues than others, you can come in here and select the similar. You can come in here and select the similar location, and that location will show up in aggregated form here. So all the latency, your packet loss, and your jitter, all of these network insights will aggregate to whatever you select in these. Say that you need something more. You want to really start getting into what tests were having the most issues. So I'm going to go ahead and click the view tests, and now if we're dealing with a banking website, obviously loan is probably where they make the most money. Or if you're looking at user experience, what's the most important? If a person is trying to pull their money out and they're not able to, this is probably going to be one of those biggest impacts. Or if they can't get into their checking account and understand what their transactions were like. Obviously, any one of these things is going to not only hurt the user's experience, but it's also has the potential of making the business lose money. So this one will probably be more important for that. We're going to focus on the user experience part. So let's go into when a user would be trying to pull out money from their account. And these are the tests that are being run. So again, this was an EU bank. So now I have a lot of ways where I can start going into, start deep diving into the individual location and the tests that were run and when and how and all of that. Now, again, this is not necessarily meant to be foundations of ThousandEyes either. So I highly recommend checking out our YouTube page. Again, asking the account team to, associate you with the customer success team if you're a customer of Cisco's already. And you can start understanding, how to deep dive into ThousandEyes, where I want to kind of more focus on the integration pieces between both Splunk AppDynamics and ThousandEyes. But for sake of example, obviously it becomes really cool to be able to understand, when your agent is talking to the server, whether it's the web server or the cluster of them, what's really going on. And if you want to go over to here where it says metrics, if there's more information that you're needing, if you're coming over here from the application side, you're probably wanting to see more of the networking stats. And you just saw these things on the network insights widget of the controller. So you might want those same things to line up here so you can find that high spot that you were looking at over on the Splunk AppDynamics controller. And again, you have, I guess not again, but similarly to AppDynamics, you have your time picker up at the top. But if you notice, this is actually going exactly to the same time frame that the Splunk AppDynamics had. So it already aggregated a lot of information for you just clicking on that link simply on the AppDynamics side. It brought you over here, brought you to the correct time frame, brought you to the correct test that's related to that end user experience that you're looking at on the web app, as well the APM side of things. So EUM and APM together now with networking. Fantastic. It's just so useful. I wish I had this when I was when I was an SRE. And now let's go ahead and start looking at some of the other tabs or some of the other integrations on the AppDynamics side. Now, obviously, this is all very useful, and if you're an SRE, you're probably going to be pretty familiar with digging around in here. But now, if you have a tier 1 team or an alerting team or some sort of ops that kind of needs things high level, or maybe it's a part of your own workflow where you don't necessarily want to start out here. This is kind of more of a reactive approach where we always encourage everybody to be more proactive. You can do that with health rules and alerting and dashboards. So let's go check out what kind of options we have to utilize what was built here for the greater good of monitoring your application. So this is a custom dashboard. This is something that a lot of people are familiar with, the custom dashboards within Splunk AppDynamics. But you probably notice, not only does it have counts and good data about the actual, the most critical business transactions, and your end-to-end flows and your, just lots of really good information. And then not only does it have that, it also you can come down here and you can start to see your analytics. So if you have your analytics widget in here, you can understand the loan process and start applying that to the real world stats and concerns of the business, the context that it has, and then networking. So this isn't something that was normally available, something that's normally very useful in AppDynamics. You can get some information, but you're not able to get an actual network scorecard where you can now. This unfortunately is brought over as an iframe. You wouldn't be able to adjust these things too much, but at the same time, having that here along with everything else, I mean, you just can't beat it. This would have saved me so much time, so many painstaking conversations, tickets raised, incidents, reports submitted just to be able to talk to the right person. This would have saved me so much time. So I just look at this and just think you guys are lucky. um, and then if I go back out and I want to check out Dash Studio, I don't know if you guys are as familiar. I'm going to stick with the lone one since I looked at the lone one on the dashboards. I know we talked about the withdrawal flow when we were looking in the demo. So that one may have been also good, but just for context or contrast, let's stick with the lone so you can kind of understand, because there were a bunch of slides that showed you the withdrawal part as well. So now over here, it is just, not only do we get a lot of the same and good information from the business side, but you also get a lot more data when it comes to the ThousandEyes part. Now, this one seems like it's having some trouble loading the data. It is a demo app, so I apologize for that. Let me see if I can see if I have one. Let's check out withdrawal. Let's see if that one's coming through okay. Oh, that's well, you get the point of it at least. So you'd be able to come in here and add widgets. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Dash Studio. Dash Studio, you can actually inject variables here. So, that was a big point of whatever, or feedback. We got a lot of feedback. Everybody was asking, when are we going to start being able to add variables? There's other tools out there like Grafana and the like, where you can add some sort of a drop down and you'd be able to look at multiple applications, multiple business transactions, and kind of pick and choose to adjust the dashboard to what you're needing at the time without creating a whole other dashboard. So this becomes very powerful to have all of this together, and then still having these network insights, able to just go right in there and correlate it directly with your application performance. So I can understand, is it a problem in the heap and the resources utilized, or is it more problem on the networking side? And I can find that depending on my overall flow for the monitoring of whichever application it is. Or if I know that there was an issue recently and I wanted to go back and double check and make sure that everything's good now, I'd be able to quickly do that. And very quickly, I will show you on the, where you would normally go on the administration side. Oh, I think it's going to show something that I can't. So integrations, okay, didn't show. Sorry. This is where you would start setting up that integration. You would just enable, and then you would add the URL. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not the ThousandEyes one. This one, you would enable it, and then you would add your authentication code or token, and you would get this from the ThousandEyes side of things, and then what it needs from the AppDynamics side on the. Let me see. I have the. I think I'm limited on this. Okay, so let's go into user experience, get back into the end user monitoring. We'll go into the ThousandEyes. Well, I love when that happens. Anyways, basically there is a drop down in the bottom right corner on the ThousandEyes side where it says configurations, and you would go to that and you would be able to actually see the integration portion there. there's a lot of really good documentation that we're going to be putting into the chat as well in the description of this video, so that you would be able to follow along and get that set up very quickly. I apologize for some of the poor representation in my demo here. I have some limitations on the demo app I'm using. So that concludes our demo, but I don't want to leave you without a full through explanation of what I would want you to walk away from here with. So if you picked up nothing else but my my bad jokes, no, I'm just kidding. I would like for you to walk away knowing that Splunk AppDynamics and ThousandEyes are both Cisco products. Now, when those purchases were happening, they were looking at the bigger picture. They were looking at bringing multiple observability tools so that you have multiple places to look from, not just the application stack, not just the network stack, not just the cloud stack. That we want to bring everything together. That mean time to resolution. How long? What's the average that it takes for you to accomplish in figuring out what performance issues are hindering your application or your network, finding out those things quickly, discerning across the different stacks, and so focusing on the one that you actually need to, instead of wasting all of your time in one. This is where it becomes very important to set things like this up, work them into your workflow, the processes that your employees use to decipher problems and to react to issues. Having them talk to each other is going to be extremely important, because you don't want to necessarily reinvent the wheel each time. You don't want to have 4 different tools next to each other. You don't want to have to argue with the networking team to show you what they're seeing. Bridge those gaps, tear down those silos. And in terms of, if you're the admin and you're trying to set it up, obviously go in there under the integrations tabs of both of the tools, and then start setting up the test recommendations. So you're able to create that. If you onboard an application in there, you're automatically going to see test recommendations. So you can select those, and then you can select the service domains, and then you can deploy the tests on those targeted domains. And then on the AppD side, once you have these set up on the AppD side, if you have the integration there and you're able to see the if you're able to see the network insights under the end user monitoring, then you'll be able to start understanding from the EUM side, the end user monitoring, if there's any network issues, and you'll be able to drill down into those tests that were created when you were initializing the integration between AppD and the ThousandEyes. Sorry. If anything fails, whether it's the initial test, it's usually something to do with credentials. If you are testing things out, and it's not just you going through the diagnostic, flow when you're initializing it in the beginning, you're going to test it out. You're going to save that integration. A bunch of services will start getting initiated and discovered. And then once everything's connected, that's where you're going to start using those tests from the AppDynamics side. That's where you're going to start being able to be on the ThousandEyes side and be able to quickly jump over to the links on the AppDynamics side. You want to be able to bring everything together, so you have the most upfront to be able to solve these real world problems that are affecting your overall enterprise's applications. Now, we got off to a late start, and then I also had to change the link because the broadcast stopped working. So I just wanted to give some time for Q&A, but I do acknowledge the fact that there might not be anybody actually in this session. So hopefully you guys were able to move over and saw my chat to change. All right, so it does look like we're unable to. It does look like there's no questions at the moment, so we'll go ahead and continue. Now, this recording, as well all of our others, whether on demand or live sessions, they're all on our YouTube page down here at Cisco Observability. We are the customer success engineers that are tasked with helping customers be successful with our products. And our team is a little bit more focused on the Splunk AppDynamics side typically, but we do cross pollinate, and we have ThousandEyes and Splunk Core. We have a lot of different things on our YouTube, but obviously, if you are kind of new at it and a customer, always look into what if your account team can set you up for, in person or digital remote accelerators. A lot of our customer success engineers are already assigned to your accounts, and you just have to be there and ask, and we're more than happy to go in there and help you, and then we can follow up with working sessions. If you don't have that availability, or say that you're doing this at home or on the side and you're just trying to build your resume, definitely check out what we have on YouTube so that you can work through things. Or if you don't, obviously, also if you don't want to just go through the big formality of having somebody join you and you're just sitting there trying to figure things out, which we've all been there. We've all been in the trenches. So anything on here would be a good recommendation for you to, start looking through it, start building up your observability tools, how you need it, and build your process around that, or build it around your process, whichever way you want to approach it. Just make it usable for the greater teams instead of just yourself. Obviously, if you're building a tool for yourself, it's different, but best practices that we've learned along the way helping multiple customers are all imbued in this content that we create. So thank you all for making this a success and joining us today, and we will see you next time. Thanks.